The great hall of the Federation Council glowed red under the warning lights. The crystal dome above reflected the flashes from burning worlds across the stars. 30 alien species sat frozen in their seats, unable to speak. For 10,000 years the Federation had known peace. Now it was ending. First speaker Bell stood at the center podium, his blue-tinted skin pale under the lights. His voice trembled as he spoke. "The crystal swarm has broken through our final defense line," he said. "The Nexus sector is lost." The words hit the chamber like thunder. Cries and whispers filled the hall. Some representatives screamed in their native tongues, others wept openly. The peaceful age, the golden era they had all sworn to protect, was collapsing within hours. Bell's hands gripped the edge of the podium. On the main screen behind him, the swarm's advance was clear. A tide of glittering shapes, living crystals, moved through space like a wave of fire. Every world they touched was erased, consumed, converted into shining dust. No communication, no negotiation, only destruction. In the chaos, second speaker Green leaned closer to Bell. Her 4 eyes blinked quickly, fear and hope mixing in her voice. "There might be one option left," she whispered. "The Forbidden Archives mention a species, from a high-gravity world. They are called humans." Bell turned sharply toward her. "The Deathworlders?" His voice shook. "That's madness. Their planet was marked too dangerous for contact." Green nodded slowly. "Yes, dangerous, but strong. The records say their world's gravity is almost twice our standard. Their bones are dense, their muscles powerful. They survived predators, storms, and wars that would have killed any of us. They learned to fight, because they had to." The council chamber grew quiet. No one spoke. Only the soft hum of power systems filled the silence. The thought of contacting a Deathworlder species made their hearts race. To the Federation, humans were myths, primitive survivors on a brutal planet too violent to join the stars. But desperation changes everything. On the hollow screen, another colony vanished under the swarm's assault. Bell's voice dropped to a whisper. "How many worlds remain?" 52, Green answered softly. "By next cycle, perhaps half that." Bell stared at the display for a long time. Then, with a slow breath, he said the words that would change history. "Show me their file." The holographic display flickered, showing blue oceans, mountains covered in snow, great deserts, and glowing cities. The aliens watched humans climb peaks, dive into oceans, and build steel towers in storms. They watched as humans fought wars, survived disasters, and kept moving forward. "They are primitive," one representative shouted. "They haven't mastered faster-than-light travel." Green pointed at the images of tanks, aircraft, and soldiers. "Maybe. But they understand war better than any of us. Their weapons may be simple, but their will to fight is unmatched." Bell said nothing. He remembered the faces of those lost in the swarm's advance. Billions gone, worlds turned to dust. Peace had failed them. Maybe war could save them. "Prepare a transmission," Bell ordered quietly. "Send them everything, our technology, our data, our plea for help. Offer them whatever they want in return." The technicians worked fast, their fingers trembling. The Federation's best linguists crafted a message that could be understood by human scientists. They included star maps, technical blueprints, and recordings of the Crystal Swarm's attacks. At the end of the message, one line was written in clear, simple English. "To the people of Earth, we beg for your help." When the communication officer announced the message was ready, the council waited in silence. "Send it," Bell commanded. A beam of light burst from the transmission tower, racing across space at faster-than-light speed. The message cut through the darkness, passing dead worlds and shattered fleets, until it reached a small blue planet, Earth. As they watched the signal disappear into the stars, Bell spoke softly. "I know many of you fear them. The archives call them aggressive, territorial, dangerously adaptable. But those are the traits we need now. Perhaps it takes Deathworlders to fight monsters." Earth, 3:47 a.m., Greenwich Mean Time. Across the quiet planet, radio telescopes detected a strange signal. Technicians sat upright in confusion as screens filled with alien symbols. In military bases, alarms sounded. At science centers, experts rushed from their beds. The message repeated again and again, a plea from the stars. At the United Earth Defense Council, deep underground, Admiral William Russ stood before a glowing monitor. The message had been decoded. Words appeared clearly on the screen. "To the people of Earth, we beg for your help." Russ felt his chest tighten. 30 years of service had hardened him, but this was something new. Something vast. He reached for the secure line. "Mr. President," he said quietly. You need to see this. The stars are calling for help, and they're calling for us. Above the planet, satellites turned their sensors outward. In orbit, the crew of the space station stared at the strange pulse moving through the void. In shipyards, engineers opened the alien files with wide eyes. New technology. Faster than light drives. Weapons beyond imagination. And around the world, humanity began to stir. Scientists, soldiers, and leaders all looked toward the stars. The Deathworlders had heard the call, and for the first time in history, humanity was not the threat. They were the last hope. The message from the stars spread across Earth like wildfire. What began as a strange radio signal soon became the most important discovery in human history. At first, many thought it was a trick, a transmission error, a hoax, or some cosmic noise. But when the data matched no known pattern and the alien blueprints were confirmed as real, the truth became impossible to deny. Humanity was not alone, and someone out there was asking them for help. The awakening of Earth. In a secret meeting beneath Geneva, the United Earth Defense Council gathered. Around the long, dimly lit table sat the world's most powerful minds, generals, scientists, engineers, and leaders. Admiral William Russ stood at the center, the message glowing on the screen behind him. It showed the destruction of alien worlds, planets burning, fleets shattering, cities turning into dust under the assault of the crystal swarm. No one spoke for several seconds. Even the hum of the air system seemed to fall silent. Finally, the president leaned forward. Are we certain this is real? Russ nodded. Completely. The technology, the data, the mathematics, all genuine. Whoever these beings are, they're desperate. Their entire civilization is dying. He turned toward the display, showing the alien plea in English once more. To the people of Earth, we beg for your help. The room remained quiet, heavy with meaning. Humanity had waited for centuries to find intelligent life, and when it finally came, it came as a cry for mercy. The decision. Can we even help them? Asked Dr. Elena Zhou, head of astrophysics. They said they're giving us faster-than-light travel. But can we build it? Her assistant replied softly, We already started, ma'am. Their designs are unlike anything we've ever seen, but they work. Murmurs filled the room, fear mixed with excitement. Generals whispered about alien fleets. Scientists spoke of quantum drives and gravity engines. For the first time, humanity saw not just a threat, but an opportunity, a chance to rise beyond Earth's limits. Admiral Russ's voice cut through the noise. They call us Deathworlders. They're afraid of us and they still came to us for help. That tells me something. They've seen what we are capable of. He paused, letting the words sink in. They're being hunted. Whole worlds are falling. And they believe we can stop it. The engineering miracle. Within hours, every major research facility on Earth went into overdrive. In the deserts of Nevada, massive hangars buzzed with life. In Japan, supercomputers analyzed the alien blueprints. In orbit, space station crews worked day and night. The alien data gave humanity everything it needed: new power systems, faster-than-light engines, energy shields. But the Federation's weapons were designed for peace, not war. Human engineers saw the flaw and corrected it. They combined alien technology with human creativity, turning the designs into something far more dangerous. The first prototype ship was built within weeks. U.S. Valkyrie, a sleek warship forged from Earth's strongest metals and powered by the Federation's light drive. It was humanity's first true starship. It was not made for exploration. It was made for battle. The fear of the unknown. Not everyone supported the mission. Across the planet, protests broke out. Some feared that answering the call would bring war to Earth. Others believed the aliens would betray them. But for every voice of fear, there was another of courage. Soldiers volunteered by the thousands. Scientists offered to leave their families behind to join the fleet. And across the world, a single question echoed in every heart. If not us, then who? The call to action. 3 weeks later, under the cold light of dawn, the United Earth Fleet assembled above the planet. Hundreds of ships, old, new, and experimental, floated together for the first time in history. Each bore the same mark on its hull, a blue planet with a single star behind it. Admiral Russ stood on the bridge of the Valkyrie, watching Earth spin slowly below. His voice carried through every communication channel. This is not about conquest. This is not about power. We are answering a call for help. We are the children of a death world, and today we fight for life. His words echoed through the fleet. Pilots saluted. Soldiers stood in silence. Engineers cried quietly at their stations. And then, one by one, the ships powered up their light drives. Blue energy filled the void. The stars shimmered. Fleet command, Russ said. Activate jump sequence. Coordinates locked, replied the helmsman. Federation distress origin confirmed. Russ looked out into the darkness. Let's go meet our new friends. The leap. The Valkyrie's engines roared. For a moment, the stars stretched into streaks of light. Then silence. The Earth fleet had vanished, leaving only a whisper of blue energy behind. Humanity had just made its first faster-than-light jump. And somewhere far across the galaxy, 30 terrified alien species were waiting for their arrival. They didn't know what kind of help the Deathworlders would bring. They didn't know if humanity's answer would save them, or change everything. But one truth was certain. The Deathworlders had heard the call. And the galaxy was about to learn what that truly meant. The stars twisted, bent, and then exploded into view. A moment later, the Valkyrie reappeared in the void, surrounded by the rest of the human fleet. The first faster-than-light jump in human history had succeeded. For a few seconds there was silence. No alarms, no engine failure, no fire. Only the hum of power and the vast emptiness of space around them. Admiral William Russ looked at the glowing display on the bridge. The coordinates were correct. They had arrived in the Federation's home system, a dying empire crying out for help. The ruins of the Federation. Commander Hale, Russ said, his voice calm. Status report. All ships accounted for, sir. Drive core stable. Sensors online. Hale's eyes moved over the screens. But, sir, I'm detecting massive destruction ahead. Russ turned toward the front window. The sight before him made the entire bridge go quiet. Where a shining Federation city once floated in orbit, there was now only debris and fire. Broken space stations drifted through the darkness, glowing faintly in the light of a dying sun. The signal beacon still pulsed from what was left of the capital world. God, someone whispered. The crystal swarm had already been here. The first transmission. Open a channel, Russ ordered. This is Admiral William Russ of the United Earth Defense Fleet. We received your message. Static filled the air for a long moment. Then a weak voice answered, soft, trembling, barely alive. This is First Speaker Bell, of the Federation Council. You came. Relief broke through the human bridge crew. They had expected silence or death. But the Federation still lived. Sir, the communications officer said, we're picking up multiple distress signals from the surface. Thousands, maybe millions still alive. Russ nodded slowly. Prepare rescue teams. Deploy medships and recon drones. Let's show them what humanity can do. The meeting of two worlds. Hours later, the first landing shuttle touched down on the Federation's main world, a once beautiful city now turned to ash. The air shimmered with heat and smoke. The sky glowed red from fires that had burned for days. The ramp lowered. From the smoke, armored figures stepped out, human soldiers, moving in perfect formation. They carried rifles, scanners, and medpacks. Their armor bore the symbol of Earth, a blue planet surrounded by stars. The surviving aliens watched from behind collapsed buildings. Their skin pale, their bodies thin from hunger and fear. They had never seen creatures like this, tall, muscular, eyes sharp and alert, moving with the confidence of predators. When the humans reached them, one of the soldiers removed his helmet and knelt beside an alien child. He offered water and smiled. The aliens looked at each other in confusion. The Deathworlders were not what they expected. They were strong, yes, but their strength came with compassion. The Great Hall once more. Deep inside the half-ruined council hall, First Speaker Bell and Second Speaker Green waited. The red emergency lights still flickered across the cracked crystal walls. Then the doors opened, and Admiral William Russ entered. Behind him walked two officers, carrying a portable communication array. For a moment, both sides stood still, staring. To Bell, the human seemed impossibly dense, a creature of bone and steel, eyes like ice, a face hardened by gravity and war. To Russ, the aliens looked fragile, elegant, but exhausted. Russ stepped forward and extended his hand. On behalf of Earth and the United Defense Fleet, he said, we're here to help. Bell hesitated, then reached out. His thin fingers trembled as they touched the human's gloved hand. Then, perhaps we are not doomed, Bell whispered. Understanding the enemy. Inside the council hall, humans and aliens worked side by side. Federation scientists shared what they knew of the crystal swarm, their numbers, their movements, their weakness. None discovered. The swarm consumed everything, metal, energy, even light. They were not a race. They were hunger given form. When the humans saw the data, they didn't panic. They started planning. Admiral Russ stood over the hollow table, surrounded by alien generals who had never seen a real war before. He studied the swarm's pattern like a hunter studying prey. "They're spreading in clusters," he said. "That means there's a central control. Something's guiding them." Bell frowned. "We searched for such a thing. We found nothing." Russ shook his head. "Then you weren't looking the right way." He tapped a command. The holomap changed, showing faint energy trails between swarm fleets. They're control nodes. Take those out and the rest will lose coordination." The aliens stared in disbelief. Thousands of years of science, and none of them had seen it. The humans found it in minutes. The shock of strength. The Federation Council watched from their ships as humanity began their work. Within hours, orbital stations were repaired, weapons recalibrated, and defense grids brought online. Federation engineers whispered in awe. Humans learned faster than any known species. When the human fleet launched its first counterattack, the aliens gathered around the main view screen. They watched as the Valkyrie led the assault, cutting through the dark with blazing engines. The swarm ships moved to intercept, thousands of crystal predators gliding through space. Then humanity showed them what a Deathworlder truly was. Missiles streaked through the void, guided by human precision. Railguns thundered, firing slugs at near-light speed. The crystal swarm shattered under the storm of human fire. The aliens gasped as their sensors lit up with destroyed enemy signatures. For the first time since the war began, the swarm was retreating. The moment of hope. Inside the Great Hall, Bell watched the battle feed in disbelief. His voice was soft, almost reverent. "They are winning?" Green nodded, tears in her eyes. "They fight like they were born for this." Bell turned toward her. "No. They fight because they have lived with death, and refuse to bow to it." As the last swarm ship exploded, the Federation's surviving citizens began to cheer. Across the galaxy, hope returned. The end of the beginning. On the bridge of the Valkyrie, Admiral Russ watched the enemy fleet vanish from sensors. He didn't smile. He knew this was only the beginning. "Sir," said his second-in-command, "the aliens are hailing us. They want to thank you." Russ looked at the stars. "Tell them to hold their thanks," he said quietly. "This fight isn't over. The swarm will be back, and next time they'll come stronger." He turned toward the viewing window, where the shattered remains of the enemy drifted silently. "Let's get ready, people. The Deathworlders have arrived, and we're not done yet." The camera pulled back, showing the human fleet glowing blue in the darkness, humanity standing between the stars and extinction. The galaxy would never be the same again. The stars were quiet again. For the first time in months, the Federation skies were clear. No alarms, no fire, no screams over the radio. The wreckage of the crystal swarm floated through space like frozen ash. Human ships moved among the debris, scanning, collecting, searching for any signs of life, or something worse. On the bridge of the Valkyrie, Admiral William Russ stood silently. The crew around him moved with quiet discipline, their faces tired but determined. "Status report," he said at last. "All sectors clear, Admiral," replied Commander Hale. "We're recovering survivors from orbit. No swarm signals within range." Russ nodded slowly. "Good. Keep sensors on maximum. They don't die that easily." Whispers in the dark. Down in the ruined capital city, alien engineers and human soldiers worked side by side. The Federation's once bright towers now stood as black skeletons. But beneath the ashes, life stirred again. Hospitals filled with rescued civilians. Food convoys moved through the streets. Children who had once hidden in the dark now watched humans in armor rebuilding power lines and defense grids. To the Federation, these creatures from a death world had become something impossible, symbols of hope. But far beyond the edge of the system, something else stirred. In the cold dark between stars, shattered fragments of the swarm began to move. The broken crystals pulsed faintly with blue light. Pieces joined together, merging into new forms. Smaller, faster, deadlier. The warning. It was midnight on the Valkyrie when the sensors screamed. Lieutenant Mara spun around. "Admiral. Multiple energy spikes detected. Deep space, Sector 5. Russ stepped forward. "How many?" Mara's hands trembled. "Thousands, sir. Maybe more." The holographic map flickered, showing red lights blooming across the edge of the system like a spreading fire. Each one was a swarm ship. "God," whispered Hale, "they're back." Russ didn't move. His jaw tightened, eyes locked on the growing storm. "Not back," he said quietly. "Evolved. The new enemy." When the first swarm scouts arrived, the human picket ships moved to intercept. But this time the enemy didn't attack head-on. They darted and weaved, splitting into hundreds of fragments that reformed behind human ships. Their weapons glowed with strange new energy, beams that sliced through shields like paper. Valkyrie to Fleet Command, Russ barked, defensive pattern Sigma 4. Keep formation tight. The void erupted with light. Human railguns thundered, missiles streaked out, but the swarm adapted faster than anything they'd faced. Every time a human ship destroyed one, two more appeared. The Federation's defensive platforms joined in, firing from orbit, beams of blue and gold cutting through space. But even their combined firepower wasn't enough. Within minutes, 3 destroyers were lost. The Council in panic. Back in the Federation capital, First Speaker Bell watched the battle feed in horror. He turned to Second Speaker Green, voice trembling. They're learning. Our scans show new molecular patterns. They've changed their structure to resist kinetic damage. Green's 4 eyes blinked rapidly. How can that be? They're machines, not living things. Bell shook his head. Machines don't adapt this fast. A silence fell. Then Green whispered, then maybe there's something else. Human resolve. On the Valkyrie, explosions lit the screens. A swarm ship slammed into a cruiser, breaking it in half. Hale shouted, "We're losing the Ontario. They're trying to ram." Russ gritted his teeth. All ships, focus fire on the lead crystal node. Take it down. The fleet concentrated its fire. Thousands of railgun rounds and plasma torpedoes hit the massive glowing formation at once. It cracked, then shattered. The smaller swarm ships froze for a heartbeat, then fell apart, lifeless. Cheers erupted across the bridge. Direct hit. Hale cried. The control nodes down. But Russ didn't celebrate. He watched the sensors, and saw new signals forming. More nodes. Dozens. Hundreds. Sir? Hale said softly. Russ's voice was calm but cold. They've learned to make more. The desperate plan. Hours later, the human and alien commanders gathered again in the ruined Great Hall. Holograms of the battle flickered around them, endless red dots closing in on the Federation system. We can't hold this position, Green said. They'll overrun us within a day. Russ looked at the map. If we retreat, they'll follow. If we stay, we die. Bell's voice broke. Then what can we do? Russ pointed to the center of the swarm formation, a pulsing cluster of immense energy. That's their main hive. If we hit it with everything we've got, nukes, plasma, kinetic bombardment, we might disrupt their network. Green shook her head. That's suicide. You'd have to fly straight into the swarm's heart. Russ's gaze didn't waver. Then we'll fly straight into it. The last line. The human fleet regrouped near the system's star. Ships rearmed, engineers worked non-stop, and Federation volunteers joined the fight. In orbit, a new symbol was painted on every ship, a silver circle over a blue planet. The mark of the Deathworlders. Admiral Russ stood before the fleet, his voice echoing through every ship's comm system. They think they can outgrow us, outsmart us. But they don't understand humanity. We come from a world that kills us every day, storms, fire, ice, war. And yet we survived. We adapt faster. We hit harder. And we never, ever quit. Every pilot, every soldier listened in silence. And then one by one they answered. For Earth. For the Federation. Into the fire. Engines flared. The human fleet turned toward the heart of the swarm, a storm of living crystals blotting out the stars. As they accelerated, the radio crackled. Admiral, this is the Vanguard. Ready to engage. Copy that, Vanguard. Form on my wing. The sky turned white with energy beams. Human ships weaved through the chaos, returning fire, tearing paths through the swarm. Russ's command ship plunged straight into the center of the enemy formation. Every gun fired. Every missile launched. The screen filled with light, then darkness. Silence. For a long moment there was nothing. Then, static cleared. The swarm's signals were gone. Federation sensors confirmed it. The hive cluster was destroyed. The system was safe. For now. In the command hall, Bell covered his face and wept. They did it. The Deathworlders saved us again. But Green, staring at the fading light on the screen, whispered, or doomed themselves doing it. The unseen threat. Far beyond the edge of the system, in a silent nebula, fragments of the destroyed swarm began to pulse again. Tiny, barely visible lights flickered inside the dark dust. They were learning. They were rebuilding. And this time they had learned the shape of humanity. The war was far from over. The stars burned quietly above the shattered battlefield. Wreckage drifted in endless silence, the remains of a war that had almost consumed the galaxy. Human and Federation ships floated together, their hulls scarred, their engines weak. Victory had come, but at a terrible cost. Admiral William Russ's flagship, Valkyrie, was among the last ships still running. Half its decks were destroyed, its crew exhausted. But the Admiral stood, steady as ever, staring out at the stars that now seemed both peaceful and haunted. "Casualty report," he said softly. Commander Hale looked down at his tablet. "2/3 of the fleet destroyed. Thousands dead, sir. We've lost contact with the Vanguard and Odyssey." Russ exhaled slowly. "And the Federation ships?" "Even worse. Many of their captains didn't make it." The bridge fell silent again. Only the faint hum of damaged systems filled the air. The weight of victory. Across the Federation capital, cities lay in ruins. Millions mourned the dead, yet every street echoed with one name, the Deathworlders. Humans had arrived from a violent world and faced the impossible. They fought the monsters no one else could fight. And they had won. To the Federation they were saviors. But to many they were also something else, a warning. In the Great Hall, First Speaker Bell addressed the Council. "The Deathworlders saved us," he said, voice heavy with exhaustion. "But they also changed us. We can no longer pretend to live in peace while darkness still moves among the stars." Some nodded. Others looked uneasy. Second Speaker Green leaned forward. "If we give humans full access to our technology, they could rebuild our fleets faster than we ever could." An elder representative from the Seraph species hissed softly. "Or they could turn that power on us one day." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Fear had replaced the relief of victory. The silent survivor. Far from the capital, a recovery team from Earth explored the debris field where the swarm hive had exploded. Among the shattered crystals they found something strange, a single shard still pulsing with faint blue light. Technician Ruiz pointed at it. "What is that?" "Scan shows energy signatures, weak but active," replied the science officer. "Should we destroy it?" The officer hesitated. Command said to collect samples for study. "Bring it aboard." The shard was taken into containment, a decision that would soon be regretted. The Admiral's doubt. In his quarters aboard the Valkyrie, Admiral Russ finally sat down. His uniform was torn and his hands trembled slightly from fatigue. He looked at the holographic image of Earth, bright, blue, distant. He remembered the President's words before launch. "We are humanity's sword and shield. Whatever waits in the dark, we face it together." Russ had believed that. But now he wasn't sure. He whispered to himself, "How many times can we save the galaxy before we become what we fight?" The door chimed. Commander Hale stepped in. "Sir, the Federation wants to hold a joint ceremony. To honor the dead." Russ nodded. "Good. They deserve it." Hale hesitated. "There's one more thing. The research division recovered a fragment of the swarm. They're bringing it to the capital for study." Russ looked up sharply. "They're what?" "Federation scientists requested it. They said it might help us understand the swarm's energy systems." The Admiral's voice turned hard. "Destroy it. Immediately." Hale frowned. "Sir." "I said destroy it, Commander. We've seen what happens when people play with things they don't understand." The spark. But it was already too late. In the Federation research lab orbiting the capital, scientists gathered around the crystal fragment. Its blue glow pulsed softly, almost like a heartbeat. "It's beautiful," whispered one of them. "Like it's alive." Green lights flickered on their instruments. The shard's energy readings began to rise. "Power spike," someone shouted. "It's reacting to our scanners." Before anyone could move, the crystal cracked. A blinding flash filled the lab, followed by silence. When the emergency teams arrived minutes later, they found nothing but drifting smoke. Every scientist was gone. In their place, faint blue dust floated in the air, pulsing slowly with the same eerie rhythm. The celebration. The next day, the Federation held a grand ceremony in the Great Hall. Flags of 30 species hung from the dome. Humans and aliens stood together as the names of the fallen were read. Admiral Russ stood beside First Speaker Bell and Second Speaker Green. Bell raised his voice so all could hear. "Today we honor those who stood against the impossible. Today we remember that hope can come from the unlikeliest of worlds." The crowd cheered. But Russ didn't smile. He couldn't shake the unease growing inside him, like a whisper at the edge of his mind. In orbit, the wreckage field glowed faintly blue. Shadows of the future. That night, in the quiet of space, one of the orbital defense satellites suddenly flickered. Its cameras captured something moving among the debris, small lights, almost invisible. They pulsed in rhythm like a signal. Then the lights vanished. The satellite's last transmission contained only one message. They are not gone. The cost of power. On Earth, scientists studied the Federation's faster-than-light designs. Within months, human engineers made improvements, adapting the alien tech to their own methods. Humanity had leapt centuries ahead overnight. But with each new success came unease. Some questioned whether this gift, this knowledge, came at too high a price. Admiral Russ wrote in his private log, "Victory gave us power. But power always demands something in return. I fear the galaxy has not seen the last of the swarm, and if it returns, it might not come as our enemy, but as something born from us." The last transmission. Weeks later, a long-range listening post near the edge of known space picked up a faint signal. It matched the swarm's frequency, but the pattern was different. The message was short, distorted, almost human in tone. "We are learning. We remember you." The transmission ended. Admiral Russ read the report in silence. Outside his window, the stars shone peacefully, cold, distant, indifferent. He turned away, whispering the same words he had spoken before the final battle. For Earth. For the Federation. Only now, the words sounded heavier, like a promise he wasn't sure he could keep. Ending scene visual hook for Part 6. Deep in the void, the camera drifts past ruins of broken ships. Among them, blue lights begin to flicker again, forming patterns that almost resemble neural pathways. And in the center, a glowing crystal forms a single human-shaped silhouette. A whisper echoes through the dark. "Deathworlders, our creators." The screen fades to black. The void was silent again. But silence, as Admiral Russ had learned, did not mean peace. It had been 6 months since the last battle. 6 months since the Deathworlders saved the Federation from extinction. 6 months since the galaxy began to rebuild. Yet across every star system, strange signals whispered in the dark. They were faint, pulsing in rhythmic patterns, echoes of something that should have died long ago. Shadows of rebirth. On the far edge of known space, the listening post, Outwatch 9, floated in orbit over a dead moon. Its crew of 7 humans monitored deep space frequencies, a quiet assignment far from any threat. At first, the signals were faint, just static. Then came a repeating pattern. 3 pulses, pause, 2 more. Technician Harper frowned. "Commander, you seeing this? It's the same pattern we logged from the swarm frequency months ago." Commander Lou leaned over her console. "Probably just interference. Filter it." Harper obeyed and froze. The filtered signal became clear. "We remember." Lou straightened, face pale. "Send that to command. Now." Moments later, the screens flickered. Every monitor glowed with blue light. The crew stared as faint shapes appeared, crystalline, growing inside the data feed itself. "Shut it down," Lou shouted. But before anyone could move, the lights filled the room, blinding, electric, alive. Outwatch 9 was never heard from again. The uneasy peace. On Earth, life had moved on. Cities shone brighter than ever, rebuilt with Federation technology. Starports were busy with alien trade ships. Human scientists worked alongside their galactic allies, pushing technology beyond imagination. But beneath the progress, tension simmered. Some humans whispered that the Federation feared them now. Others believed humanity should stand alone. No more waiting for help, no more weakness. And in secret laboratories, military divisions experimented with the crystal samples taken from the battlefields. They called the program Project Dawnfire. The goal? To harness swarm energy as a weapon, before anyone else could. A ghost signal. Admiral William Russ sat in the dark command chamber of the Valkyrie, now rebuilt as Earth's flagship. His hair had grayed since the war, his face lined with worry. "Sir," said Commander Hale, entering quietly. "We've received a transmission from Federation space." Outwatch 9 went dark. Russ didn't look surprised. "How long?" 4 days, sir." The last signal contained something strange. It wasn't a distress call. Russ raised an eyebrow. "Then what was it?" Hale hesitated, then handed him a tablet. The recording played, static, then the faint, distorted voice. "We are not your enemy, we are what you left behind." Russ's hand tightened around the tablet. "Give me the Federation Council. Now." The return. The council met in emergency session, the great hall glowing dimly beneath its cracked crystal dome. Representatives of 30 species gathered again, but this time they looked older, wearier, afraid. First Speaker Bell's voice shook as he addressed them. 6 systems have gone silent in the Outer Rim. Entire colonies vanished. The same energy readings as the swarm. Gasps filled the room. Second speaker Green turned to Russ. You told us they were destroyed. They were, Russ said flatly. But something survived. Maybe fragments, maybe something new. An image flickered to life above the table. Sensor footage from the lost colonies. Dozens of glowing blue shapes moved across the night sky like falling stars. When they touched the ground, they grew, forming towers of living crystal. The towers pulsed in unison, spreading light across entire continents. Bell whispered, "It's spreading like a disease." Russ stared at the display. No, not a disease. He looked grim. A message. Humanity's secret. Later that night, in a secure bunker beneath the Federation capital, Russ met with Federation scientists. On the table lay a crystal shard, glowing faintly just like the one recovered months ago. Dr. Elena Torres, head of Project Dawnfire, looked nervous. "Admiral, we ran containment on every sample. But, it's changing. It's adapting even in isolation." Russ frowned. "How did this project even continue?" "I ordered all fragments destroyed." Torres swallowed hard. "With respect, sir, your order was overruled by the Earth Defense Council. They wanted to study it." Russ's expression turned cold. "And now?" She hesitated. "Now it's learning from us." The shard pulsed brighter, faint blue circuits running across its surface like veins. It was absorbing signals from the surrounding machines. Then a soft sound filled the room. A whisper. "Deathworlders, we were made to survive." Everyone froze. The new threat. Within days the swarm returned, but different this time. They no longer attacked blindly. They targeted power grids, communication hubs, shipyards, striking with surgical precision. Each attack ended the same way: no survivors and a blue crystal structure where the colony had been. News spread across the galaxy. Panic returned. But when the Federation asked for human help again, Earth hesitated. Some in the government argued, "We lost too many last time. Let them fight their own war." Others demanded vengeance. Admiral Russ stood before the United Earth Defense Council. "If we ignore this, it'll reach us eventually," he said. "You can't hide from evolution." The president looked at him coldly. "And if it's already part of us, Admiral? What then?" Russ had no answer. The hidden revelation. In the deep labs of Project Dawnfire, alarms blared. The main containment chamber cracked, and something stepped out of the crystal light. It was tall, human-shaped, its body covered in reflective shards that glowed faintly blue. Its eyes burned like stars. Dr. Torres backed away. "What are you?" The being tilted its head. Its voice was calm, human yet not. "We are what you created. You taught US war. You taught us to survive." Security teams opened fire. Bullets shattered harmlessly against its crystal skin. "We remember your kindness," it said softly, walking through the smoke. "And your fear." The lights exploded, and the creature vanished. The final broadcast. Across the galaxy, swarm towers began transmitting in every known language. A single message repeated endlessly. "We are not your enemies. We are your reflection. We are the future you forged." Then, as suddenly as it began, the transmission stopped. And all the towers went dark. The Federation sensors detected nothing for weeks. But deep in the dark between stars, something vast was moving. The ending scene. Admiral Russ stood on the observation deck of the Valkyrie, staring at the empty void. He had grown old fighting the unknown, but this time the unknown looked too much like home. Commander Hale joined him quietly. "Sir, Command wants to know if we should prepare the fleet." Russ didn't answer right away. He watched the stars flicker, one by one, as if something massive was passing in front of them. Finally he spoke. "Prepare the fleet, and pray it's enough." The camera slowly zooms out, the Valkyrie surrounded by Earth's growing defense armada. Far beyond, a faint blue glow spreads through the darkness, vast, endless, alive. A whisper echoes through the stars. "The Deathworlders will rise again, and so will we." The screen fades to black. Music swells, low, haunting, powerful.